to help. I'm trying to just do whatever I can for people. Like the World Hunger thing, the USA for Africa. Isn't that great? You guys hear the song? Nice song, isn't it? Beautiful. I'm like anybody else on the planet. I'm very moved by world hunger. I see the same commercials. Those little kids starving and very depressed. And, I watch these things on TV and I see those commercials and I look at it and I go, God, how cruel, To see a little kid out there and I go, fuck, I know the film crew could give this kid a sandwich. The kid's not out there, filming a letter from home with a Betamax, huh? There's a director 5 feet away going, don't feed him yet! Get that sandwich out of here! It doesn't work unless he looks hungry! But I'm not trying to make fun of world hunger. Matter of fact, I think I have the answer, because I spend a lot of time working it out. And if you want to stop world hunger, stop sending them food. Don't send these people another bite, folks. You want to send them something? You want to help? Send them U-Hauls. Send them U-Hauls, some luggage. Send them a guy out there that goes, hey, we've been driving out here every day with your food for like the last, 30, 40 years. And we were driving out here a day across the desert, and it occurred to us there wouldn't be world hunger if you people would live where the food is! You live in a fucking desert! Nothing grows out here! Nothing's gonna grow out here! You see this? Huh? See this? This is sand. Yeah. It's sand. It's going to be 100 years from now, huh? It's going to be sand! Fucking desert! Get your kids, get your shit. We'll make one trip. We'll take you to where the food is. We have deserts in America. We just don't live in them, asshole! You guys did a great job. Thank you very much. It's Kinison. I love you. Thank you.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, January the 30th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have news clips, patriotic clips, motivational clips, Bishop Barron, Ayn Rand, the 33 Strategies of War, and another speech from former President Donald Trump. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. And now the news shorts.
Mr. Shareholder, learning about this in real time.
Yeah, it's just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It looks like market manipulation, but nobody wins. So why would you come out and say we're going to rock your world or whatever he said, and then the big innovation is we're not investing in this, we're still cost cutting, but look, we're going to do a faster checkout? That's like table stakes. You have to have a faster check. We all understand that. There's nothing here. They should. I don't know. I'm not impressed by so far. It's a new CEO. Give them the benefit of the doubt. They report on February 7th. Maybe they will rock our world then. But like this is not what's popping in the streets. Like we don't roll like this. We don't say big things and then back them up with basically minor incremental improvements to existing products. That's a really weird flex, and that's why you're seeing the stock get traded this way.
A House committee is marking up articles of impeachment for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Republicans are accusing him of not enforcing laws at the southern border. Mayorkas and Democrats say the move is purely political. Fox's Connor Hansen has more.
Some members of the House Homeland Security Committee believe Secretary Mayorkas is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. Articles of impeachment claim Mayorkas did not enforce immigration law and that he lied to Congress about the southern border being secure.
Secretary Mayorkas is the very type of public official the framers feared. Someone who would cast aside the laws passed by a co-equal branch of government, replacing those with his own preferences, hurting his fellow Americans in the process.
Mayorkas responded to lawmakers with a letter saying problems at the border go back before he took over the agency. He claims the current administration has removed more migrants than the Trump administration. This comes as a small group of senators tries to work out a bipartisan border deal.
Just give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work for us.
Some in the House are growing anxious, not having seen the text of the bill.
And all we know is the reports and rumors, I suppose, that have been leaked. I hope some of this is not true. But from what we've seen, clearly, what's been suggested is in this bill is not enough to secure the border.
How can you oppose something that you don't even know what is in the text? And what that tells me is they're not interested in governing.
Articles of impeachment for Secretary Mayorkas are expected to go to the full House for a vote sometime next week. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox 4 News.
5 years in prison. That is the sentence for the man who stole and leaked the tax records of former President Donald Trump and thousands of other prominent people. Charles Littlejohn pleaded guilty to a single count of unauthorized disclosures of income tax returns in October. According to the 38-year-old's plea agreement, Littlejohn took the financial data while he was employed at a consulting firm that had contracts with the Internal Revenue Service. The information was then leaked to 2 news outlets before it was deleted from his IRS laptop. The 5-year sentence was the maximum penalty and what prosecutors were requesting.
New surveillance video shows undercover Israeli special forces infiltrating a hospital in the West Bank. Israeli and Palestinian officials confirmed that these commandos killed 3 Palestinian men. CCTV video shows about a dozen people that were disguised as nurses or women in hijabs. One carried a baby car seat, the other pushed a wheelchair, carrying assault weapons. The hospital said the 3 men were sleeping at the time of the attack. One of those killed was claimed by Hamas as a member. The other 2 were claimed by Islamic Jihad.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denied reports that a ceasefire deal was imminent. U.S. officials have said they've been in discussions with Qatar and Egyptian mediators and that they had made progress toward a deal, one that includes the release of the remaining hostages and withdrawal from Israeli troops from Gaza. Netanyahu says Israel will keep fighting until absolute victory over Hamas. 27,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since the start of the conflict.
You can murder, liberate, but you can't murder, liberation!
Today, hundreds of Chicago public school students walked out of class and grabbed picket signs. It's all ahead of a city council vote tomorrow that will call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Students packed the entrance of City Hall, holding signs and chanting to show support for Palestine. The students say they are against the U.S. financially supporting Israel.
Will investigate alleged misconduct by Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis has just been formed, and we now have the names of the state senators on that group. They're going to look into allegations of her having an improper relationship with a special prosecutor she hired for the election interference case against former President Donald Trump.
It gets started in the Pacific Northwest, so let's begin there. That is Cannon Beach, Oregon. Gorgeous shot. Is that the shot from the Goonies? It might be. I think it's close by. Big surf, high waves as the winds get kicked up by this sprawling area of low pressure. And check out this satellite. This is now a potent and on satellite, a picturesque system developing. Look at that big swirl. This is a visible satellite, so a top-down, a picture from space. And look at this developing now. That is that corridor. And you look right about here, That's the Hawaiian Islands. So that's why we were talking about this being a pure pineapple express, as that moisture for several thousand miles finds its way across the Pacific, this huge fetch of moisture directly on into the West Coast. So that's what generates the issues as we move forward with time. Now, in between now and then, we've been talking about the record warmth out west as all of that Pacific air gets launched across the western half of the country. It was a record high temp. Seattle, they're up into the mid-50s. Look at Medford, Oregon. January the 30th, second to last day of January, it's 71 in Medford. Boise is up to 53 degrees with sunshine. So we just shout out to Bob in the booth, confirmation that is the place from the Goonies. So yeah, inquiring minds needed to know. Here we go with the exclusive Fox model into the overnight hours tonight, early part of the day tomorrow. That is heavy rain up and down I-5, finding its way across the Cascades and points east. What you notice here is, at least initially, there's not a lot of snow out of this. That's directly correlated, of course, to the record warmth that we were just talking about. As the storm system drops south, more cold air gets in the mix, and that's why this is a bigger deal for snow down toward the Sierra Nevada. You don't see much up into the Cascades this go-around. The rain still to come through what's left of this week. Coastal areas where you see that orange, that's 3 to as much as 5 inches of rain. And in some areas, particularly as you get up into the foothills and some of the higher terrain before the changeover to snow, you get that squeeze of the moisture. That's where we're expecting a localized amounts of higher rain. For this reason, we got a flood watch up for the northern half of California. I do believe that will be expanded to include parts of Southern California as we move forward through this week.
You're watching CBS News Los Angeles, The Rundown.
Hello, I'm Pat Harvey, and here are your top stories. 5 men arrested in connection with 6 murders in the Mojave Desert. Tonight, officials say it was all over an illicit marijuana grow. And these are the 5 suspects, all in their 20s. The bodies were found last week near El Mirage, north of Adelanto. Investigators say they tracked one of the victims' phones to find them after they called 911, saying they were shot. They say 4 of the victims were burned as well. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department says this area is known for illicit marijuana grows, and he blames Prop 64, which reduced many felony marijuana citations to misdemeanors.
We've unleashed a plague in this California, and the plague is the black market of marijuana and certainly cartel activity and a number of victims that are out there.
And our KCAL News reporter Nicole Comstock will have much more on this case ahead at 8. Now, Malibu is bringing CHP patrols back to the city to improve PCH safety. Officials say the 2-year contract will not exceed $2 million and that the goal is to send a clear message that dangerous driving will not be tolerated. Back in November, the city council declared a local state of emergency after the deaths of 4 Pepperdine students. They were hit by a speeding driver while walking along PCH in October. A meeting tonight over the future of Porter Ranch Community School. LA Unified may move these students to a different campus to deal with capacity challenges. And KCAL News reporter Lori Perez has a preview of that story.
I'm Lori Perez here in Porter Ranch, where anxious families are gathering outside the Porter Ranch Community School. LA Unified School District is hosting a town meeting tonight to talk about what they're calling the current school capacity challenges, meaning overcrowding. Now, this is a K-8 school. Parents are hearing one option might be to close the middle school and move the students to the high school. Many are saying that is simply unacceptable, and they want to let the district know it.
And turning now to the weather, a look at downtown LA tonight after a few days of warm temperatures. We're tracking some storms headed our way. Let's go to Danny Roberti with your next weather forecast. Danny?
Hey, Pat. Oh, my goodness. This weekend was beautiful. I just wanted to put it on pause, but you were right. Storms are on the way, and we're tracking those changes for you. It's this trough of low pressure. It's located about 1,500 miles west of Seattle, and this is going to start nudging that high pressure that's been warming us up out of the way, and this is going to bring us a cold front later this week that's going to bring us the rain, the wind, and the snow, and much cooler temperatures. So we are going to stay dry through Wednesday. Tomorrow and Wednesday, they're going to be pretty nice days. Not as warm as this last weekend, but pretty mild. Cold front moves through Thursday, and that's going to be our rainy day. Rainy, windy, snowy. Highs about 15 to 20 degrees cooler than what we experienced this last weekend. So you can see through our rain chances map that the big day, it is going to be Thursday. So we're calm Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you see that uptick where those rain showers are likely during the day on Thursday. And then again, this upcoming weekend, Sunday into Monday. So the beginning of February, my goodness, it is going to be a rainy, active start. So let's talk about storm number 1 and the timing of it. So you can see as we go into Tuesday afternoon, we've got the sunshine. Things are going to be nice out there. More clouds on Wednesday, but once we get into Wednesday night, late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, this is when that cold front starts moving through, and this is going to bring the rain. This is 1 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. Know a lot of you are asleep, but there's the leading edge of that storm and that cold front, and that brings the heaviest rain starting at 4 o'clock. This is 5:15. You can see those reds and those oranges very heavy through parts of LA County, pushing into Orange County at that point. 7:15, you're getting off to work, getting the kids off to school, and you can see it is going to be a wet start. The focus is really going to be from 4 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the morning. So we've got some pockets of heavy rain even moving through the Inland Empire, Orange County at 7:15. That continues till about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it starts pushing out of here into San Diego County. So there is a concern for flooding, bigger concern with that second storm that moves through later on this upcoming weekend. So in terms of storm number 1, we're talking 1 to 2.5 inches of rain for the metro area, foothills 2 to 3 inches, even higher than that up in the mountains. Going into tomorrow, though, it's going to be another pretty day. Not as warm as today, but this is still well above normal. We're talking mid-70s through downtown LA, Fullerton. 80 again in Chino. Coming up at KCAL News at 8, we're going to break down for you storm number 2 and the timing of that one to prepare you for the beginning of February and how long you need those umbrellas. That's coming up next. Pat.
All right. Thanks so much, Danny. Endeavour is beginning its final mission tonight. And KCAL News reporter Leslie Marin shows us what's ahead for the space shuttle.
We're outside the California Science Center where the Endeavour will be on the move tonight once again. Take a look. This already a really cool sight. There is that large fuel tank as well as the rocket boosters. The Endeavour will eventually sit right next to all this, and take a look at that large crane about 450 feet up in the sky. That crane will be used to hoist the Endeavour space shuttle upright. I kind of want to give you an idea of what we're going to see tonight. That's if everything cooperates. Now, I was told the Endeavour, if you pretend like this is the space shuttle, it'll essentially be hoisted from the ground, and then that very large crane will be attached to its nose to lift it eventually upright. This, we're told, will take several hours, if not nearly 24 hours. We're told there's a lot of factors that go into this. Weather being the biggest factor. There's slight wind right now that is a concern. They're also going to look at other safety factors. So if everything is good, at 10 p.m., they will begin this process that's expected to take, as I said, many, many hours. But if it is successful tonight, well, the Endeavour will be the first space shuttle to be sitting in a blast-off position in the entire world. It will be a very cool sight to see here in Los Angeles. We're going to get up close in just a few hours, and we'll bring you those images starting at 9 p.m.
For joining us, I'm Stacey Skryzak. And I'm Dawn Sterling. Over the past couple of weeks, there have been debates about Trump and Biden's place on the primary ballots across the nation. Last week, Illinois voters tried to remove both candidates, citing the men violated the Constitution. And today, the State Board of Elections chose to keep former President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden on the state's primary ballot. News Channel 20's Julia Rosier was at the meeting today, and she joins us now with more. Julia?
Don, Stacey, that's right. The Illinois State Board of Elections unanimously voted to keep both candidates on the primary ballot. But officials say that this isn't final, as those who filed the complaints do have the option to appeal. The Illinois State Board of Elections unanimously voted to keep President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump on the Illinois primary ballot. For Trump, the State Board of Elections rejected a challenge that he should be barred from the primary ballot because they say he violated the Constitution because of January 6th.
He took a leading role in organizing, facilitating, supporting, directing, and protecting a concerted, armed, and violent invasion and seizure and disruption of the United States Congress on January 6th.
But Trump's lawyers urged the board not to weigh in on this.
The Colorado case is now before the U.S. Supreme Court, and it really, under all of these circumstances, makes no sense for the board to weigh in and deprive Trump and the voters of Illinois to ballot access.
State Board of Elections spokesman Matt Dietrich says objectors for the case against Trump now have 5 days to file a notice of intent to seek judicial review.
If they do that, they would appeal it beginning with the circuit court, and it would work its way through the court system, and they would try to persuade a judge to overrule our board's decision.
And for President Joe Biden, the board also unanimously voted to keep him on the primary ballot as well. Objectors of Biden argued he aided enemies by his handling of the southern border and the withdrawal from Afghanistan. They also have the option to appeal Tuesday's decision. The U.S. Supreme Court is scheduled to hear oral arguments in the Colorado case starting on February 8th. But Dietrich says that the way the U.S. Supreme Court words that decision could impact the decision that was made here in Illinois today. Reporting live in Springfield, I'm Julia Rosier. Back to you.
Thanks, Julia. The Illinois primary will be held on March 19th.
And that was the news shorts. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, the patriotic shorts.
She was one of the first nurses in the Army Air Force's newly created Air Evac group during World War II. Her name was Grace Chicken, and she would serve in 3 wars and live to be 107 years old. Grace treated wounded GIs who were being transported back to the States from faraway places. If the GI was blinded, she'd hold his hand the entire flight for comfort. If they were unconscious or shell-shocked, she'd sing gently to them, tell them everything would be all right. And if they didn't make it, she'd say a prayer and try to remember them as much as possible. Keep them alive inside her head. Grace was among the first wave of nurses in Tokyo the day after the Japanese surrender. She flew back with men who had survived the Bataan Death March. "We knew you'd pick us up," a disoriented and emaciated GI told Grace through tears. "We knew." Through 3 wars, Grace was always there for them. Grace received her final flight wings on October 5th, 2021.
The militant group responsible for the attack that killed 3 U.S. soldiers and wounded over 40 more has preemptively surrendered, saying they'll no longer attack the U.S., saying that they're stopping because they don't want to embarrass the Iraqi government and that Iran doesn't know what they do and has often told them not to attack Americans. They've also called on their members to exercise restraint if America does attack them. But this, as people say, it's too late to apologize or surrender. But the State Department responded to the surrender saying, "We will hold any group that attacks our forces accountable." And President Biden has ordered military action in response to the attack, and it's expected to be a tiered response that will happen over the course of several days. But everything is still developing, so follow to stay in the loop.
A young man from Chattanooga, Tennessee, he looked up at me, real pitiful look. He said, "Slaughter, are we going to get through all this?" And I didn't know how to answer him because I thought we were all going to die out there. If you got hit, you're going to die because there's nobody to take care of you. You know, you're just going to lay there and bleed, or you're going to lay there and go into shock, or, you know, whatever. And we could hear people out there screaming and hollering, and nobody would go out and help them. You know, they'd just lay out there and scream until they died.
Is the A-10 Warthog better than the F-35? Well, this question was put to the test during a secret Air Force competition, and the results are not what you would think. Let me explain. When the F-35 was first developed, The Air Force called it the replacement for both the F-16 and the A-10 Warthog. The goal was to simplify maintenance, cut costs, and modernize by replacing the aging A-10. But people have always said that the F-35 is not a great replacement for the A-10. Its higher speed makes battlefield monitoring hard for pilots, and it doesn't have anything like the GAU-8 Avenger cannon, which is perfect for destroying armored vehicles. However, the Pentagon organized a head-to-head fly-off between the two aircraft, giving them identical missions to see their performance in typical A-10 roles. During the tests, both F-35 and A-10 pilots saw success when they worked together and combined their strengths. The full results of the fly-off are hidden from the public, but since the Air Force didn't want to release the data, the F-35 may not have performed as well as predicted.
Right off the bat, I can see two Afghans laying in the road. They're dead. And then we can't get to them. There's a lot of fire coming down on us. But now we have 3 wounded Afghans. Okay, and then I have 3 other Afghans over here. Okay, guys wounded over there. Okay. We need to get to our trench line because we can actually crawl this trench back. And it's full of water, which means that there probably won't be IEDs in it. So let's stay in the water. Then let's move back to find other Americans. It's me and it's Frankie right now. We're the only 2 Americans in our position. And then we hear the dreaded noise. The release of a mortar round, and then boom. And so it's time to move. So run across the road, grab the one Afghan by the hair, yank him out of the ditch because I was like, come on, they won't move. Yank him out of the ditch, the other 2 follow. So we start moving down. We're carrying 2 of the Afghans with us. All right, get to our first established CCP. Then we hear the worst call in the world. Eagle down, eagle down, eagle down.
So this guy won the Medal of Honor, which is the highest award in the military. This guy went to the Air Force Academy, and he was a janitor. And no one knew who the fuck this man was. He had the highest award in all the military for heroics. And he is now cleaning shitters for young kids. And we can all imagine how that probably went. A little bit of taunting here and there. And he just sat there and cleaned the shitter. So that's why he's in my trained humility part. Because for this man to be at the level he was and have that kind of humility to go, I'm a Medal of Honor winner, but I'm going to put that in my closet. And I'm going to pick up my broom and dustpan. I'm going to pick up, this rag and clean this shit for these young men. That right there is amazing for me, man. That's where you grow. That's growth. And also it shows that he was doing his job. He didn't look at himself any better than anybody else. The second you do that, you totally lost.
And that was the Patriotic Shorts. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the Motivation Shorts.
Life is a jest. Take the delight of it. Laughter is best. Sing through the night of it. Swiftly the tear and the hurt and the ache of it. Find us down here. Life must be what we make of it. Life is a song. Let us dance to the thrill of it. Grief's hours are long, and cold is the chill of it. Joy is man's need. Let us smile for the sake of it. This be our creed. Life must be what we make of it. Life is a soul, the virtue and vice of it. Strife for a goal, and man's strength is the price of it. Your life and mine, the bare bread and the cake of it. End in this line. Life must be what we make of it. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems
all uphill. When the funds are low and the debts are high. And you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit. Rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer, with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a failure turns about, when he might have won, had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. And he learned too late when the night slipped down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you mustn't quit. Can't is the worst word that's written or spoken, doing more harm here than slander and lies. On it is many a strong spirit broken, and with it many a good purpose dies. It springs from the lips of the thoughtless each morning, and robs us of courage we need through the day. It rings in our ears like a timely sent warning, and laughs when we falter and fall by the way. Cant is the father of feeble endeavor, the parent of terror and half-hearted work. It weakens the efforts of artisans clever, and makes of the toiler an indolent shirk. It poisons the soul of the man with a vision. It stifles in infancy many a plan. It greets honest toiling with open derision, and mocks at the hopes and the dreams of a man. Cant is a word none should speak without blushing. To utter it should be a symbol of shame. Ambition and courage it daily is crushing. It blights a man's purpose and shortens his aim. Despise it with all of your hatred of error. Refuse it the lodgment it seeks in your brain. Arm against it as a creature of terror, and all that you dream of, you someday shall gain. Cant is the word that is foe to ambition, an enemy ambushed to shatter your will. Its prey is forever the man with a mission, and bows but to courage and patience and skill. Hate it with hatred that's deep and undying, for once it is welcomed, 'twill break any man. Whatever the goal you are seeking, keep trying, and answer this demon by saying, I Figure it out for yourself, my lad. You've all the greatest of men have had. 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and a brain to use if you would be wise. With this equipment they all began. So start from the top and say, I can. Look them over, the wise and great. They take their food from a common plate, and similar knives and forks they use. With similar laces they tie their shoes. The world considers them brave and smart, but you've all they had when they made their start. You can triumph and come to skill. You can be great if only you will. You're well equipped for what fight you choose. You have legs and arms and a brain to use. And the men who has risen great deeds to do began his life with no more than you. You are the handicap you must face. You are the one who must choose your place. You must say where you want to go, how much you will study the truth to know. God has equipped you for life, but he lets you decide what you want to be. Courage must come from the soul within. The man must furnish the will to win. So figure it out for yourself, my lad. You were born with all that the great have had. With your equipment, they all began. Get hold of yourself and say, I can. By Edgar Albert Guest. Be a friend. You don't need money. Just a disposition sunny. Just the wish to help another. Get along some way or other. Just a kindly hand extended out to one who's unbefriended. Just the will to give or lend. This will make you someone's friend. Be a friend. You don't need glory. Friendship is a simple story. Pass by trifling errors blindly. Gaze on honest effort kindly. Cheer the youth who's bravely trying. Pity him who's sadly sighing. Just a little labor spend on the duties of a friend. Be a friend. The pay is bigger, though not written by a figure, than is earned by people clever in what's merely self-endeavor. You'll have friends instead of neighbors for the profits of your labors. You'll be richer in the end than a prince if you're a friend.
And that was the motivational shorts by poet Edgar A. Guest. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now the daily laws for January the 30th.
January 30th. Trust the process.
Let us say we are learning the piano. In the beginning, we are outsiders. When we first study the piano, the keyboard looks rather intimidating. We don't understand the relationships between the keys, the chords, the pedals, and everything else that goes into creating music. Although we might enter with excitement about what we can learn, we quickly realize how much hard work there is ahead of us. The great danger is that we give in to feelings of boredom, impatience, fear, and confusion. We stop observing and learning. The process comes to a halt. If, on the other hand, we manage these emotions and allow time to take its course, something remarkable begins to take shape. As we continue to observe and follow the lead of others, we gain clarity, learning the rules and seeing how things work and fit together. If we keep practicing, we gain fluency. Basic skills are mastered, allowing us to take on newer and more exciting challenges. We begin to see connections that were invisible to us before. We slowly gain confidence in our ability to solve problems or overcome weaknesses through sheer persistence. At a certain point, we move from student to practitioner. Instead of just learning how others do things, we bring our own style and individuality into play. As years go by and we remain faithful to this process, yet another leap takes place, to mastery. The keyboard is no longer something outside of us. It is internalized and becomes part of our nervous system, our fingertips. We have learned the rules so well that we can now be the ones to break or rewrite them. Daily law. Trust the process. Time is the essential ingredient of mastery. Use it to your advantage. Mastery. Introduction.
And that was the Daily Law for January the 30th from the Daily Laws by Robert Greene. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Bishop Robert Barron.
I don't think we talk enough about the Holy Spirit, even though, of course, we mention and we honor and we worship the Holy Spirit, that we don't speak sufficiently of this third person of the Trinity. And there might be some truth to that. See, when you get in touch with the Holy Spirit, you're getting in touch with the love that connects the Father and the Son. You're getting in touch with the love that God is, and therefore with the very force that gave rise to the universe. So at the risk of sounding a little bit cosmic and grandiose, you're in touch with the most powerful force imaginable. You want power. I mean the real thing. Surrender your life over to the Holy Spirit. Say, Lord, look, it's not what I want. It's not my projects and plans. It's your projects and plans. You will find you will tap into this source of power to change things for good, change things for the better in your life, in your family, in your place of work. Surrender by a conscious act to the Spirit, and you unleash this great driving wind.
And that was Bishop Robert Barron. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Quote, envy is regarded by most people as a petty, superficial emotion, and therefore it serves as a semi-human cover for so inhuman emotion that those who feel it seldom dare admit it even to themselves. Today, that emotion is the leitmotif, the sense of life of our culture. It is all around us. We are drowning in it. It is almost explicitly confessed by its more brazen exponents. That emotion is hatred of the good for being the good. Unquote. And that was the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now we're going to...
This is Audible.
The 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene.
Part 4. Offensive Warfare. The greatest dangers in war and in life come from the unexpected. People do not respond the way you had thought they would. Events mess up your plans and produce confusion. Circumstances are overwhelming. In strategy, this discrepancy between what you want to happen and what does happen is called friction. The idea behind conventional offensive warfare is simple. By attacking the other side first, hitting its points of vulnerability, and seizing the initiative and never letting it go, you create your own circumstances. Before any friction can creep in and undermine your plans, you move to the offensive, and your relentless maneuvers force so much friction on the enemy that he collapses. This is the form of warfare practiced by the most successful captains in history, and the secret to their success is a perfect blend of strategic cleverness and audacity. The strategic element comes in the planning, setting an overall goal, crafting ways to reach it, and thinking the whole plan through in intense detail. This means thinking in terms of a campaign, not individual battles. It also means knowing the strengths and weaknesses of the other side, so that you can calibrate your strikes to its vulnerabilities. The more detailed your planning, the more confident you will feel as you go into battle, and the easier it will be to stay on course once the inevitable problems arise. In the attack itself, though, you must strike with such spirit and audacity that you put your enemies on their heels, giving irresistible momentum to your offensive. The following 11 chapters will initiate you into this supreme form of warfare. They will help you to put your desires and goals into a larger framework known as grand strategy. They will show you how to look at your enemies and uncover their secrets. They will describe how a solid base of planning will give you fluid options for attack, and how specific maneuvers, the flanking maneuver, the envelopment, and styles of attack, hitting centers of gravity, forcing the enemy into positions of great weakness, that work brilliantly in war can be applied in life. Finally, they will show you how to finish off your campaign. Without a vigorous conclusion that meets your overall goals, everything you have done will be worthless. Mastering the various components of offensive warfare will give all of your attacks in life much greater force.
And that was the beginning of Part 4, Offensive Warfare, from the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of Maria Bartiromo on Sunday, January the 28th.
Because he is wrong-headed on a long list of issues. Okay, we can make a long list of issues, but this border issue is number one, because fentanyl is crossing that border and killing more Americans than any other issue between 18 and 45, because we have women being raped, we have children being put into sex slavery, we have murderers, we have molesters, we have gang members, we have drug dealers, we have carjackers, we have kidnappers, all crossing with these millions of people. And he is wrong on this issue. He doesn't care, because here's the agenda, Maria. America has to understand their agenda is they don't care if people die if they make their goal. And what is their goal? To put millions of people into this country, one day turn them into citizens, and one day turn them into voters and take over the country.
Okay, so if you're going to make an attack on your political enemies, it needs to be focused. The problem with his criticisms is it's diffused. He talks about fentanyl, he talks about child rape, he talks about women getting raped, he talks about 5, 6, 7, 8 different things, and it lacks potency. You need to pick one thing and drive it home. Preferably, you get your colleagues to do the same thing. So my suggestion is you talk about the children. Again, instead of talking about the border, because like I said, this is all about framing the argument. And if the argument is framed that it's about the border, we can't win. If it's about green cards, we can win that argument all day long. Another one we can win is the children. I don't know why the Republicans like him aren't constantly harping on the children, the children, the children. What about the children? The Democrats don't care about the children. Because supposedly children are just being sent here. Their parents are staying home, but they're sending the children ahead of them to break into the United States and and establish some type of family foothold in this country. And so if they're unaccompanied minors, they're subjected allegedly to all kinds of abuse. And you can make that, instead of saying allegedly, you just come out and make it as a bold statement. Arbitrary, but bold. You say these children are being abused in all kinds of horrific ways, and President Biden and the Democrats don't care. They don't care about the children. They don't care about the children. They don't care about the children. So that's a much more potent way to do it than what he's doing. And the reason he's making this mistake is the Republicans are still got this stick up their ass about facts. It's got to be about the facts. Got to be about the facts. The American people have to pay attention to the facts. No, they don't. Okay, the left is more potent and effective in their arguments because they use propaganda and they use it to good effect. And it's long past time for the Republicans to start doing the same. Back in a minute. Thank you. Another part of the Maria Bartiromo interview of this congressman, I don't know who he is and I don't care, a Republican congressman, and he's going on and on. And he says that we know the reason that they're doing this. They want to have new citizens that are all going to vote Democrat. And that, of course, assumes that everybody that comes here wants to be a citizen. Because just because you come here and stay here for 6 or 7 years doesn't mean you automatically become a citizen, nor does it mean that you're required to vote. So even if they did become citizens, it doesn't mean that they're going to vote. The vast majority of people that are eligible to register to vote don't bother. Okay, and they therefore don't vote. Anyhow. So he goes on, he says it's all about voting and having power and taking over the country, which is bullshit, and he knows it. The reason they're doing this is Social Security. Social Security, if it's true, the news that we're hearing is scheduled to go bankrupt in 2035. Okay, no more money for Social Security. So what do? Again, they're faced with situations that they don't like. If they cut benefits, they're screwed. If they raise taxes, they're screwed. The only other thing to do is get more workers to get in here and pay into the system. Okay, and the only way to do that is to invite people into the country and to do so quickly. They don't want to go through the hassles. It takes too long, apparently, to go through the green card process. By the time you get everybody in here through green cards, it's too late. So they open the borders, people flood in, and the Republicans know that this is the real aim. So why don't the Republicans say so? Wouldn't it be easier and more potent to come out and say they're doing this simply to shore up Social Security? But if they do that, then what? Then their enemies in the news media are going to come to them and say, well, assuming that what you say is correct, at least they have a plan. What is the Republican plan to save Social Security? And then the Republicans are going to sit around with their thumb up their butt and their brains in neutral like they always do. They'll come up with useless statistics and on and on and on. But the point is, it's a can of worms they don't want to open up. So they simply ignore it and pretend that the objective is something else. Shame on them. Shame on them for doing that. But it's something that we all need to be aware of. The real aim here is not to take over the country, as he puts it so dramatically. It's to shore up Social Security. And by the way, if you admit that what they're trying to do is shore up Social Security, you turn what they're doing into a noble act, which is not going to sell or not sell for Republicans come voting time. It's also going to be a great fundraiser for Democrats. So they don't say that. They have to make this what they're doing into something nefarious. It's all about taking over the country, that kind of thing, something dramatic. So, but shame on them for lying. They should come out and have, number one, have a plan to save Social Security. Have some kind of an idea. I've said for a long time that it should be means tested, and that should go a long way. If it won't solve the problem, it should go a long way to solving the problem. Maybe at least put the crisis off for a decade or two. The idea that people like Michael Bloomberg, a multi-billionaire, gets access to Social Security and Medicare is ridiculous. Social Security was meant as a poverty program. That's what it was meant as. So it should be means tested, and people like Bloomberg should not get Social Security. You wouldn't give him welfare. You wouldn't give him a free medical care. There's no reason to. So why would you give him Social Security? Makes no sense. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, former President Donald Trump's 2019 State of the Union Address.
State of the Union 2019, February 5th, 2019.
Madam Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, the First Lady of the United States, and my fellow Americans, we meet tonight at a moment of unlimited potential. As we begin a new Congress, I stand here ready to work with you to achieve historic breakthroughs for all Americans. Millions of our fellow citizens are watching us now gathered in this great chamber, hoping that we will govern not as two parties, but as one nation. The agenda I will lay out this evening is not a Republican agenda or a Democrat agenda. It's the agenda of the American people. Many of us have campaigned on the same core promises to defend American jobs and demand fair trade for American workers, to rebuild and revitalize our nation's infrastructure, to reduce the price of health care and prescription drugs, to create an immigration system that is safe, lawful, modern, and secure, and to pursue a foreign policy that puts America's interest first. There is a new opportunity in American politics if only we have the courage together to seize it. Victory is not winning for our party. Victory is winning for our country. This year, America will recognize two important anniversaries that show us the majesty of America's mission and the power of American pride. In June, we mark 75 years since the start of what General Dwight D. Eisenhower called the Great Crusade, the Allied liberation of Europe in World War II. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, 15,000 young American men jumped from the sky, and 60,000 more stormed in from the sea to save our civilization from tyranny. Here with us tonight are three of those incredible heroes. Private First Class Joseph Riley, Staff Sergeant Irving Locker, and Sergeant Herman Zaitchik. Gentlemen, we salute you. In 2019, we also celebrate 50 years since brave young pilots flew 250,000 miles through space to plant the American flag on the face of the moon. Half a century later, we are joined by one of the Apollo 11 astronauts who planted that flag, Buzz Aldrin. Thank you, Buzz. This year, American astronauts will go back to space on American rockets. In the 20th century, America saved freedom, transformed science, redefined the middle class, and when you get down to it, there's nothing anywhere in the world that can compete with America. Now we must step boldly and bravely into the next chapter of this great American adventure. And we must create a new standard of living for the 21st century. An amazing quality of life for all of our citizens is within reach. We can make our communities safer, our families stronger, our culture richer, our faith deeper, and our middle class bigger and more prosperous than ever before. But we must reject the politics of revenge, resistance, and retribution, and embrace the boundless potential of cooperation, compromise, and the common good. Together, we can break decades of political stalemate. We can bridge old divisions, heal old wounds, build new coalitions, forge new solutions, and unlock the extraordinary promise of America's future. The decision is ours to make. We must choose between greatness or gridlock, results or resistance, vision or vengeance, incredible progress or pointless destruction. Tonight, I ask you to choose greatness. Over the last 2 years, my administration has moved with urgency and historic speed to confront problems neglected by leaders of both parties over many decades. In just over 2 years since the election, we have launched an unprecedented economic boom, a boom that has rarely been seen before. There's been nothing like it. We have created 5.3 million new jobs, and importantly added 600,000 new manufacturing jobs, something which almost everyone said was impossible to do. But the fact is, we are just getting started. Wages are rising at the fastest pace in decades and growing for blue-collar workers who I promised to fight for. They're growing faster than anyone else thought possible. Nearly 5 million Americans have been lifted off food stamps. The U.S. economy is growing almost twice as fast today as when I took office, and we are considered far and away the hottest economy anywhere in the world, not even close. Unemployment has reached the lowest rate in over half a century. African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment have all reached their lowest levels ever recorded. Unemployment for Americans with disabilities has also reached an all-time low. More people are working now than at any time in the history of our country. 157 million people at work. We passed a massive tax cut for working families and doubled the child tax credit. We virtually ended the estate tax, or death tax, as it is often called, on small businesses, for ranchers, and also for family farms. We eliminated the very unpopular Obamacare individual mandate penalty. and to give critically ill patients access to life-saving cures, we passed, very importantly, Right to Try. My administration has cut more regulations in a short period of time than any other administration during its entire tenure. Companies are coming back to our country in large numbers, thanks to our historic reductions in taxes and regulations. And we have unleashed a revolution in American energy. The United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world. And now, for the first time in 65 years, we are a net exporter of energy. After 24 months of rapid progress, our economy is the envy of the world. Our military is the most powerful on earth by far. And America is again winning each and every day. Members of Congress, the state of our union is strong. That sounds so good. Our country is vibrant and our economy is thriving like never before. On Friday, it was announced that we added another 304,000 jobs last month alone, almost double the number expected. An economic miracle is taking place in the United States, and the only thing that can stop it are foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations. If there is going to be peace and legislation, there cannot be war and investigation. It just doesn't work that way. We must be united at home to defeat our adversaries abroad. This new era of cooperation can start with finally confirming the more than 300 highly qualified nominees who are still stuck in the Senate, in some cases years and years waiting. Not right. The Senate has failed to act on these nominations, which is unfair to the nominees and very unfair to our country. Now is the time for bipartisan action. Believe it or not, we have already proven that that's possible. In the last Congress, both parties came together to pass unprecedented legislation to confront the opioid crisis, a sweeping new farm bill, historic VA reforms, and after 4 decades of rejection, we passed VA accountability so that we can finally terminate those who mistreat our wonderful veterans.
And that was the State of the Union address in February of 2019 of former President Donald Trump. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there and reminding you that you are not neutral and that the government has no rights.